Have you ever really stopped to think about how incredible your body is? It's this amazing self-fueling machine. I mean, you eat a meal, and then for hours, sometimes even for days, it just keeps going. So how does it do that? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the surprisingly elegant system our bodies use to manage energy.
So let's start with that big question right there. How on earth can you go from dinner one night all the way to breakfast the next morning, or even longer, without constantly having to snack? The secret, it turns out, is in your body's brilliant energy management system, and we're about to break down exactly how it works. Okay, first things first, let's take a look at what our bodies actually use for fuel. And, maybe even more importantly, how we store that fuel for later. Think of this as getting a peek inside your own personal energy tank.
Now, this chart right here, it reveals a really crucial piece of our survival strategy. Just look at that difference. Fat packs more than double the energy per gram compared to carbs or protein. That incredible energy density is exactly why our bodies choose fat as the go-to fuel for long-term storage. It's just biological efficiency at its absolute finest. And here's how that plays out inside of us. It's kind of mind-blowing. A staggering 85% of our total stored energy is fat. And to put that into perspective, look at the carbs, our stored glycogen. That makes up less than 1%. So think of it this way. Fat is our body's high-yield savings account for the long haul, while that tiny bit of glycogen, well, that's just the spare cash we keep in our wallet.
So what's the absolute minimum energy cost just to be you? That's your basal metabolic rate, or BMR. It's the power your body burns just to keep the lights on. Your heart beating, lungs breathing, your brain firing, even when you're doing absolutely nothing at all. It's the baseline cost of being alive.
All right, let's follow the journey. What happens the moment you finish a meal? Well, your body immediately kicks into what we call the feast phase, and its expert storage manager gets right to work, sorting and saving all that fresh energy you just took in.
And the undisputed boss of this whole operation is insulin. As soon as you eat, your blood glucose rises, and your pancreas sends out insulin. Its number one job is basically to shout out to all your cells, hey, the delivery's here, open up and store this fuel for later. So your body has a really clear priority list for all this incoming fuel. First, that glucose from carbs tops off our quick-access glycogen tanks. Then, any fats you ate are sent straight to your fat cells. That's our adipose tissue. But here's the part that's so important to get. Any excess fuel, and it doesn't matter if it started as a carb, a protein, or a fat, ultimately gets converted and stored as fat for the long term. The first stop for all that glucose is your liver, which acts kind of like a bank. It converts the glucose into glycogen, and this becomes our super quick access energy, that checking account we talked about. It's essential for keeping our blood sugar stable, but you gotta remember, this account is pretty small, and it can get emptied out fast. Okay, so what happens a few hours later when that meal is all digested and maybe you're starting to get a little hungry again? The body makes a switch. It goes from storage mode to release mode. And now the release manager takes the stage.
This right here, this is the key metabolic switch. As insulin levels drop, a different hormone, glucagon, starts to rise. And it's really simple. If insulin's job is to put fuel away, glucagon's job is to take it back out. They're literally two sides of the same metabolic coin, and they work together to perfectly balance our energy supply.
So the very first thing glucagon does is tell the liver, hey, it's time to start breaking down that glycogen we just stored. This releases a steady stream of glucose back into the blood, making sure our most energy-hungry organ, the brain, has all the fuel it needs. The body's just making a withdrawal from that checking account.
But once that easy-access glycogen starts to run low, the body makes another crucial switch. It starts to tap into its massive savings account, our fat stores. Our adipose tissue gets the signal to break down those stored fat molecules and release fatty acids into the bloodstream, and these fatty acids become the main source of fuel for our muscles and most other parts of the body.
But what if you go even longer without eating, say for a day or more? Well, this is where our bodies reveal their true genius for survival. We enter a state of deep adaptation. It's really remarkable.
And this is where something truly fascinating happens. The liver starts taking all those fatty acids and producing a special kind of molecule called ketone bodies. It's basically creating this super efficient alternative fuel that can travel through the blood and power our most important organs, especially the brain.
And here's the really incredible part. The brain adapts. After just a few days of fasting, it actually learns how to run on these ketone bodies. This is an absolute game changer for survival because it dramatically reduces the brain's constant high demand for glucose.
So why is that so important, and why is that such a big deal? Because it spares our muscles. See, if the brain could only run on glucose, eventually we'd be first to break down our own vital muscle tissue to create it. By switching to ketones, the body protects itself. It protects its functional tissues, allowing us to survive for much, much longer. It is a truly profound evolutionary advantage.
Okay, so this isn't just some abstract science lesson, right? Let's connect this amazing process of feasting and fasting right back to our everyday lives and our health.
You see this constant dance between storing and releasing energy, between insulin and glucagon. It's the fundamental principle behind so many different aspects of our health. Whether we're talking about managing our weight, trying to understand the metabolic basis of diabetes, or even figuring out how to best feed patients in a hospital, it all comes back to this elegant hormonal balance. It really is a cornerstone of our physiology.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Your body isn't working against you. It is an absolute expert at survival. It has been honed by millions of years of evolution to be incredibly efficient at storing energy for times when food might be scarce. So knowing your body is this master survivor, how does that change the way you think about food?